Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamünaleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuhu. I apologize for the long session. For the second one, it was all my fault. Inshallah, we will try to keep it even longer. This time with his fault. We will inshallah start with sister's question. We couldn't hear in the previous session. No, it's not. So we will inshallah start from there.
Another question.
Oh, there is also even mashallah. Okay, so let's to make a very quick summary before going with the questions, inshallah. So we then said the success in a Quranic sense, it's not coming from the outcome or the product. It's not coming from the worldly, the accomplishment, but the success in seeing all these beautiful names in the creation. And what I mean with that, seeing the wisdom in the creation, seeing the justice in the creation, seeing how life is given in the creation, how disease is cured in the creation, or how needs are sustained in general. So this is what creation is. There are needs and there is sustenance. The law of sustenance, this is what we see in the creation. And the success comes from the understanding this, investing on, the understanding this. And when you do that, there's no limit in worldly accomplishments, which is just a side effect of it. Anyway, this is not the goal, right? There's no limit. And so if you go with that, you can achieve actually unimaginable things from a secular worldview. That's one thing. But at the same time, we said this is also not just a nice thing to have. This is the only way to fulfill the true success. Because what happens alternatively, we mentioned in the previous session, like in the first and the second session, if you try to achieve, let's say, the health in the worldly sense, just from a naturalistic perspective, what you end up with actually is more diseases and the more unhealthy life. This is what we are experiencing right now. Although people say, the average life is expanding and so on and so forth, we know that at the individual level, especially when it comes to our mental life, this is one thing, but even with our physical lives as well, we're not getting any healthier. We try to achieve control or power, right, through worldly the means, and what we get in return, feeling and more oppressed. Even the billionaires, right, who try to control everything, what they have in their life, even a tiny failure in the system, and they can be crushed. Such a worldview. Okay? So you go with the justice, and the sister can continue from there. I assume the question was about that. We try to achieve justice from a worldly, let's say, setup, within a worldly setup, with a naturalistic worldview. What we end up with, more injustice. Why this is so? This is not just again, an accident, because the starting point with a naturalistic worldview, the starting point is injustice anyway. You say, we look at the creation and we say that there's no justice. There are all these blind forces, right, competing each other. Things are happening by random chance. There's darkness. What justice are you talking about? There's no such concept as justice anyway. It's just a human-made thing. from a naturalistic worldview. Right? So what we do, okay, we have to invent some justice systems. We have to write things. And then by just play of the words, what you get, what we have right now. So it's a kind of like inevitable the consequence of your starting point. You start with injustice. You assume that there is no justice in the creation. Hence, we have this life, this society. On the opposite side, though, you start with seeing the justice and saying that, let me understand in what measures things are created. When you start with that, you can achieve true, complete justice then, as Ali radiallahu anh will teach us. Not justice in a relative sense, but justice in the absolute sense, because it's not coming from you this time. You're not trying to invent something. And so on and so forth. You can take it to engineering, you can take it to the humanities and so on, right? The same. Let's continue with the questions, inshallah.
I mean, I don't think it's so important anymore. I guess I thought about it more in my head, but maybe it's good to say things out loud. So I was just thinking about like what you said in the previous session, that a political scientist, you know, he wants to achieve like justice and work towards justice from a Muslim perspective, or if he's a Muslim, if he's a believer, because he sees justice in this world and he wants to, you know, to achieve it. But the thing is, I feel like it's all about perspective, because another political scientist will look outside, will look at the world and see injustice. You know, they will see like a land with resources and a land without resources. They will see a land that is luscious with water and green, and a land that is a desert, arid land, nothing can grow there. They would see, I don't know, healthy people and sick people. So I don't know, like, I mean, maybe I'm not paying attention in our Friday sessions to keep coming back to these questions again and again. But like, you know, like, I feel like there's something missing. You know, there's something that this person that looked outside and saw justice is missing from the person that looked outside and saw injustice. And I can't like, I mean, other than like being a Muslim and, you know, believing in God, like having that.
You cannot start from there.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Not supposed to start from there. So like yeah, I don't understand, like I guess forgot what is missing from the two perspectives. Another thing is just what you mentioned now is very interesting, because like we talked about this in our previous retreat too, that and in our Friday discussions. I can't remember the topic was, but we talked about like, you know, the difference between when you do activism out of like a humanitarian, you know, like you want to also achieve justice, you want to help, you want to do, but you're not like a believer, and how that different and might be harmful compared to a Muslim doing, you know, what we call activism, but in the name of the most just. But then I was reading something that day, and it actually said that when someone does, like, even if he's not a believer, he's not a Muslim, and they do this justice, it's because like it's in, or they want like this equality for everyone, or humanity. They said, because it's like in our fitra, we know that there is one creator. We are all created in the same way, you know, by the same one. So that's why deep inside, we believe that, you know, everyone is equal. Now, of course, at some point you become a Muslim and you reach the conclusion that, you know, it's God and all. At some point, this fitra is there, but it's still not like leading you to the, you know, to the right path, but it's still there. Like it's still, we're born by it, and it's like, you know, the seed is planted in there, but somehow it still haven't sprouted yet, let's say. Yeah.
No, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Very good points. Would you like to continue or?
Okay. The question that I wanted to ask was, in the previous session, you made the point that if that nothing is impossible with the perspective that we understand that Allah is the origin of everything. Miracles, what we consider to be day-to-day activities, right? So my question is, how do you then understand probability and statistics? For example, like us in the biomedical field, like we say we want to understand a cure, we want to have a cure for Alzheimer's or something like that. There's been probably thousands of other Muslims who've probably also been on this path before. Majority of that research has not produced a cure. Statistically, it has not been successful. And so I'm just kind of trying to reconcile, how do you have this boundless hope in Allah when also seeing the creation fall into particular patterns? And that doesn't apply just to professional success. It applies to, for example, most people who are born into poverty don't escape poverty. And in personal lives as well, you see that, X amount of marriages fail, or, how do you see the patterns in the world, predicting a certain pattern, and then still being like, no, I believe in Allah, so I know absolutely that I cannot fail when that success mark has not been met by other people also who were well-intentioned and Muslim. So what is it delusional to have this endless hope? Or how do I reconcile that?
Very good questions. I'm sorry, but we will not have time for the rest of the session. These are really good.
You will talk too much. So let me try to cut it short. And then whatever is missing, you can complete. So I will start from the last because I remember the question. So I guess this probability thing applies to everything. Like it applies to gravity as well. You say, we drop it, and then from the lens that's being presented here, it's not gravity that pulls it. The creator is doing the creation. And then this is how, at every stage, this is what he does. But when a prophet walks on the water, you would say, well, come on. So, but this is a creation, again, of the same creator who makes the rest of the people to sink into the water, to not him sink in the water. So the question is, as much as I'm in this mindset of, in this life, my task is to make supplication. Let me use religious language now. My task in this world is just to make dua. Your life, even in your laboratory life, it's nothing but making dua. Dua is not limited to you doing the prayer on the prayer rug and then opening your hands. But with this lens, you're saying that, me putting the specimen on this dish is a supplication because I'm asking for my creator to lead me somewhere. And your purpose is fulfilled in this sense that you have done your job with asking. Why he's going to tell you? You're expecting. Like, for example, you can show up in here, ask a question, and looking at you, I say, she's not ready. Well, I guess in the case with Sister Sarah, she's asking the same question for the past so many discussions. So I think I can say that, well, maybe we should not answer that this time. Like in this case, what's happening is the question has been coming, but I say, well, maybe she needs some more time before hearing the answer. So this could be the response, or the response could be exactly to the question that's being asked, or it could be even beyond what's being asked. But as much as, of course, I am this capricious person who is not being asked in this case, but if she knows that she is asking to the all-knowing, all-merciful, all-wise, she wouldn't stop asking. She would say, the all-wise will answer the question in the way that I need to be answered at this point. If the answer is going to be the crisp, proper answer to be given, he will give it to me. If the answer is going to be seemingly an unrelated answer, still it's going to be according to my needs. So in this case, I'm not testing the creator. Like this is actually, again, since we started with Isa alayhi salam, Satan comes and says to Isa alayhi salam, you think God creates everything? Then jump from this cliff and see what happens. What is Isa alayhi salam's response? He says, God tests his creation. His creation does not test the creator. So when I make a dua, my point is not that, oh, let me put this and see if God is going to give it back to me. Like, it's not this type of a transaction. My point is just to ask, because I saw the need and I asked. That was my duty. My duty was not to just bargain with the God and say, let me try what you will say. That's not the point. So in the lab, when you try something new, you're asking from the creator, saying that I do see the need of my creator, but I don't know what the answer is. Is this the answer? So you put something over there, but you are saying, I am doing my duty of asking. If he responds, like, I'm not playing the game of probabilities with the creator, because I know that every single one instance of this response is from him. It's not like, as I guess Einstein says, he's rolling a die and then just making a decision. An all-wise creator is speaking back to me. So the mindset is totally different. Because the probabilistic mindset is based on life is happening by chance. And we are trying to get this distribution of this chance so that we can see where this, I mean, it's not pure chance, but still it's a distribution. Things might go this way, that way. But the prophetic perspective is saying, no, everything is being done with an all-wise creator. And every part of this distribution is a wisdom. It's not some randomness is pushing it left or right. So in this regard, it's not my duty to design his wisdom. My duty is to understand or be on the recipient end of it. And I don't know what it is going to be like. So I will ask and expect to be amazed by what is being presented to me. So defining my role in this existence is really what's taking place in here. So in this regard, whatever seems to be impossible, like walking on the water, resurrecting the dead, or feeding the army with a bunch of dates, prophets asked for that, the creator responded to them. And it's not only in the lives of prophets. Probably you guys also experience similar things in your lives which you would consider as miraculous. You wouldn't expect this. Normally it would never happen, you would say. Like that type of miracles also do happen in people's lives, maybe not as like stark as sea being split, but you are being amazed time to time, don't you? But if you pay attention to it, to the extent that you will realize, that's why Prophet, when going to bed, he has a dua. When he wakes up, he has a dua. Like the prophetic duas that we know. I'm going to bed and I'm not taking it for granted that I'm going to wake up, making a dua for that. And when I wake up, I'm not saying that, oh, probabilistically, I was supposed to wake up anyways. If I live 60 years, 60 times 365, my probability of not waking up of tomorrow was already negligible anyway. So why thank for it? No, he wakes up and he says, this is a new creation happening today. So I am thankful for that. That's why Prophet has supplication for everything. Entering into restroom, exiting restroom, eating food, drinking water. This is how you take life. Like it's a totally different perspective. Was it too long?
No, it's very short, mashallah. So the idea of probability is very interesting because of my profession. I will keep it short, don't worry, as short as yours. So the idea, again, as Yusuf said, the probability, they can be understood in different ways. One way is the more mainstream one is the naturalistic, coming from the naturalistic, the roots, is that things happen by themselves and things happen by random chances, random distributions. By merging them together, you get, the observed distributions, etc. In this worldview, yes, everything is happening by chance. And the poverty, for instance, is an accident that you have to escape, right? That was your question. There are some people who cannot escape from poverty. The language you use, it's already basing, your ideas on naturalistic grounds. That there's an accident, it shouldn't be happen, but it happened. Now the people are trying to escape from it. So you can understand the idea of probability that we see in the creation in different way as well, which is ambiguity in our understanding. We look at the creation, right? We understand creation one way or another, which is not that clear, because we are understanding, as the sister Sarah said, actually the two questions are very connected to each other. Our understanding could intrude some ambiguity, so we cannot get the clear picture, which ends up with leads to certain, the probabilities in our understanding. So I don't want to go to in the technical details, but the probability not on the ontological sense, but the probability in the epistemic sense, our understanding, our knowledge will have some, the ambiguities. So you can take it in different ways again. In the Quranic light, you would say, okay, my understanding is limited. Otherwise, when you look at the creation itself, there's no such thing as probability. Something happens, so I will say either not happens, right, as a 50-50. Imam Rabbani says something very interesting. Like when I heard about it and I was shocked. He says, you shouldn't even say sometimes God chooses to create one way, or doesn't choose to create that way. You shouldn't say that, he says. But the correct way is God sometimes chooses to create this way, or, so let me put the example the other way around, sorry. Sometimes he chooses to give you success, let's say, okay? And the wrong way, Imam Rabbani says, sometimes he chooses to give you success, sometimes he does not choose to give you success. 50-50 chance as if. He says, no, the correct way is sometimes he chooses to give you success, sometimes he chooses not to give you success. There is no such thing as not choosing something. For God, it's all creation. Okay? In that sense, there's no probability. There are choices made by the God, but it is always a choice. There is no such thing as not choosing something, for instance. Right? There is no the coin, what is it? The head or tail. It's always head, always something being created in the absolute sense with one probability. And what is being created changes from time to time. So anyway, going back to Sarah's question, tying back, yes, I mean, I agree with you. Everything centered around yourself, right? Ana in Arabic, right? It starts from there. How you define yourself will define the creation. If you define yourself, then I exist. I exist with these and that skills. I have this, I have that. I have this much, that much. You start with this such a definition, which is wrong. Why it's wrong? Not because Quran said so. Look at yourself. Just be honest. It is wrong. You're just being egoist. You just try to claim things for you. You start with such a psychology, right? I want to be tyrant of myself. What it means, I am self-sufficient when it comes to my existence. I am self-sufficient when it comes to my skills. I have that much knowledge. I have this skill of sight. I can think, I can talk. When you start with this, everything around you will shape the same way. I have that much, he has this much. And we together create this or that. I mean, you can see where it goes. The naturalistic worldview, right? It starts with the psychological assumption.
Her follow-up question would be, why is one way of, like, this is the wrong, but the other one is the right? Like, since you're saying that how you self-define,
yeah,
but why is one better than the other?
It's not better or not, like it's ask yourself, can you create yourself? Can you give existence to yourself? Do you have any control on the skills that you claim ownership? Right? Try to find an excuse when Arsalan is blaming you, right? In the moment, create an excuse. You will not, right? If there's a pressure. So just ask yourself, you will know what is true. You will know that I need something else other than myself to give existence to myself. If you start with the right assumption, though, not the assumption, the truth, you look at yourself and you say, I cannot even create myself. I need something to create me. I need something to create my ideas. I need something to create my body, right? My side, everything else. When you start with this assumption, the correct one, then you can reach the belief, the Quranic worldview. But yes, you are right. It starts with the, what was your word? Perception. But it's not just, yeah, this is right. This is also right. No, it's not. If you tell me that I have 3 hands, and you say that, oh, from my perspective, you have 3 hands, I would say, okay, just go and see some doctor, right? I wouldn't respect, for instance, your perspective. This is what they try to do in this society, right? Respect everything. Why? I mean, if it is stupid, I apologize. But you have to be ready to be called stupid as well. Because sometimes you are the stupid one.
So there are 2 questions. Were the 2 questions addressed or? Okay, done. Good. Alhamdulillah. Half an hour. Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. We are done. So for this last session, what we were planning to do was, so far, what did we do? First session, desire for success, granted. But separation of church and state, or Muslim life and then success life, is not a good separation. Okay, we agreed on that. And then we also discussed that there's this worldly or modern day description of success, which we buy into, is not good. So we put it aside. Then came second session. We talked about how prophets, not only they are teachers to us in the other worldly sense of the word, but also teachers to us in how to live this life. So it's embedded, it's not separate. My prayer life versus my work life. There's no such separation. If you are a doctor, what you're doing in the surgery room could become your worship, with which you get to know your purpose in this life. You satiate your curiosity of the source of this existence and sustainer of your needs. This was the point. So in this regard, Abir can still continue his software engineering job, but now he has a task though. How do I see my creator, my sustainer? How are my needs being satisfied by me doing my coding job? Or Sister Maria is going to apply the same for when she is working on some protein job, that whatever she's doing in the lab for the past couple of years. Okay, not to disclose age or how many years you have been into the PhD program. So, but this is what we need to do. Like in this domain, we are not good at. Let's also admit this. Like I need to do this in my field, you need to do it in your field. I cannot teach you how to do it in your field because I don't properly know how to do it in my own field. So this is something that we need to learn. And this is why we gave one example from Isa alayhi salam, and we also expanded it with Sulaiman alayhi salam in political science. If we had more time, inshallah, we could have done more. Now the third session. So going fast. So a third session, our now intention is, now that we saved Abir from not losing his job.
And even said, you can be even more successful than you can imagine. And others cannot even imagine your success.
So we didn't take away his quote unquote worldly success, but added an otherworldly success and embedded the two without separating the two. But what if Abir starts losing sight of it because success is joy? Like you enjoy being successful. Imagine this is what they say when Prophet ﷺ was conquering Mecca. He was bending so much that his forehead was about to just touch his saddle. Like, because normally victors enter the city that they conquer like this. So after so many things, if he entered Mecca like that, nobody would say bad. But really, victory makes you get drunk. Success makes you get drunk. So how do we establish balance? This is the question. This is where we take it to another prophetic story. Yusuf alayhi salam. If there is any success story, we would now take Yusuf alayhi salam's story. He was literally at the bottom of a well, climbed all the way to becoming the chief advisor of the vizier of Egypt. Like he became the one responsible with the finances of this United States back then. Like it is the superpower.
Head of central bank.
Head of central bank or Ministry of Finance or whatever it is. He is the guy who controls money. Like what else is more important? The guy who controls army, the guy who controls money. Like he is the brain of Egypt. And we will see how he established the balance. So inshallah, this is going to be our concluding remark to seek for balance in that prophetic example. So I'll try to make it quick. I'll be jumping through the verses in the surah, chime in whenever anything is missing. So Yusuf alayhi salam story everybody knows, but very quickly jumping over it. So here's this person, and he sees a dream, mentions it to his dad, and his dad sees that this kid is bright. Says, don't mention this to your brothers because they're going to be jealous of you. But then eventually, brothers are jealous and they throw him to the bottom of a well because they want to get rid of him, right? But he was given wisdom when he was at the bottom of the well. This is an important anecdote that the verse is mentioning us. Like, this is going to be one of the lowest points in his life, being at the bottom of the well. But, and he was betrayed by his brothers at this point. The Creator is giving him a wisdom. This is something that I should be checking for, because whenever I'm going to go through this story, I check myself. If I was at the situation of Yusuf alayhi salam, like I could have manipulated my brothers as well. But he is choosing to be hiding like his wisdom and whatnot, and accepting to be sent to the bottom of the well. This is going to be first aspect that we will see. And this will be a recurring pattern. The second case will be, now he is being sold as a slave after somebody discovers him in the well. And he is being sold to a wealthy family of Egypt, again, Aziz of Egypt, another person who is a government official, as we understand. So the Creator says, we put him in there to educate him, sort of. He gets education. And then here's this handsome person. Once he grows, you know the story, wife of the home wants to seduce him. Like at this point, it's another case. You have the potential, handsome. I mean, what the woman invites is an immediate reward. Immediate, you will enjoy that experience. And it's behind the locked doors, one-on-one, nobody hears, nobody will know about it. You can get away with it. This will happen in our professional lives as well. Like, things are happening, maybe the consequences are nobody will know, or it's not frowned upon within the society either. This is going to be the second possibility of betrayal, because in this case, sort of woman is betraying Yusuf in this case, but and I'm saying woman because Quran doesn't gossip about that woman, actually, preserving her identity and respect. So Yusuf alayhi salam says, my Lord has provided me so much, I cannot betray him.
And they translate this in two ways. They say, by Lord, in here, he means the Aziz. But if you read into it, which could be a legit way to read it, he says, my sustainer, my provider is seeing. Maybe the Lord of the house, Aziz, is not seeing, we lock the door, but my creator is seeing, I cannot betray. So he is escaping, and he is being, like, his cloth is being torn from behind. At this point of story, we can also pause and ask, when opportunities arise in life, there's an immediate reward. I'm applying to a certain job. I don't know. I go with venture capital. I'm finding some sort of money somewhere. It's not clean money, but it's going to take me to, quote unquote, success immediately. A little bit of interest, but not too much. You know, interest below inflation is permissible according to certain guys and whatnot. There's a way, like we can bend it, sort of. Yusuf alayhi salam's attitude in here is, my sustainer is seeing. And he escapes, and the shirt is being torn from behind. It's very beautiful, actually. And in that story, somebody from the family of the women says, was the shirt torn from behind or from front? Because if the shirt was torn from behind, that means he was escaping and he was trying to be caught. But if the shirt is torn from front, that means he was the guy who is attacking, and the woman was trying to protect herself. So who is chasing who in this life? Because the way we talked about, are we chasing success with the description of success in the first session? Or am I escaping from such a version of success? But I am looking for more like a believer, like what sort of a success I am seeking. So this is a second thing that we need to question for ourselves. In my endeavor for satiating my satisfaction for success, am I doing it Yusuf way, the prophetic way in this example? Or am I doing it because the woman in this case is really looking for an immediate gratification? She is also looking for a success for a carnal desire, because once she fulfills it, she's done. This is really the two huge difference. Then Yusuf alayhi salam says an interesting thing. The woman makes a case, invites Yusuf into the room when the other women are peeling fruit. And as Yusuf enters in the room, they cut their own hands. Like they are so mesmerized by his beauty. So the thing is, Yusuf alayhi salam said, and the woman says, if he doesn't do what I say, he is going to be put in prison. And he says, going into prison is more pleasant to me than what they invite me to. This is something that I need to check for myself again. As we do have this desire for success in this life, and what this success demands from me is taking me somewhere. But Yusuf alayhi salam says, I would prefer going to the prison rather than fulfilling what is being demanded of me. How could we say that though? Because I do have this desire for success in this life, and it became the norm. Like the way of pursuing success, as we were mentioning as in the first session, became the norm. And then this is where it resembles your boss is saying, or the civilization is saying, Birkan, would you like to be successful in your academic career? You have to do this, and this way. Like compete with everyone. This is a war environment. Your competitors are there. There are only 5 chairs available. 100 PhD graduates are coming out. It's a competition. This is the mindset you are being invited to, right? Yusuf alayhi salam And if you don't go with this, you're going to be in the prison. Like this is now being suggested. You're being threatened, either play the game according to my rules, or I will put you into prison. Yusuf alayhi salam's attitude at this point now is going into prison is more sweet to me than what they're inviting me to. Do I feel as such is something that I need to ask myself. Like, do I really feel like, but it's okay, once I become a professor there, I'm going to be representing Islam. So it's not that bad at the end of the day. Like it's going to be representing Islam as a Muslim successful professor, isn't it good? Like, am I trying to find cover-ups, or do I truly see that prison is more sweet, more lovable than what's being suggested? Then he gets into prison. But interestingly, now that Yusuf alayhi salam is in prison, Imam Nursi mentions prison as the college of Yusuf, Madrasa Yusufiyya. So Yusuf alayhi salam really converts the prison into a university. How come? Like you're in the prison. Quran doesn't give us any unnecessary detail, right? Right after getting into prison, the scene opens up by saying Yusuf alayhi salam had two friends in the prison, and they see some dream and come to Yusuf alayhi salam and say, we see you from among muhsinin. We talked about ihsan today, and actually the word muhsin is passing at least 4 times. I was able to count, maybe more, in Surah Yusuf when referring to Yusuf alayhi salam as muhsin. Muhsin meaning he did whatever he did in the best form. That's one meaning of it. Another meaning of it, as in the hadith Jibril, doing something or worshiping the Creator as if you are seeing Him. And actually, this description of ihsan, after today's discussion, should become equivalent with doing something the best way. Worshipping the Creator as if you are seeing Him means what? You are doing your surgery as a worship. What would that mean? I am consciously acting, asking from my Creator as I am making the surgery.
And I'm observing how he creates in front of me.
Right in front of my eyes. So with this consciousness, I am doing my surgery. With this consciousness, I am doing my coding. So ihsan really in this sense, it's not muhsin, doesn't simply mean perfectionist in the meaning of the word that we understand. But it's rather, I am doing the thing in the best way, meaning I'm asking in the most proper way. So Yusuf alayhi salam is asked about what is the interpretation of this verse, of this dream. Since we see you as a muhsin, give us an explanation. I would like to pause there again, as going back to one of the questions that Sister Sarah asked, and Jazakallah khairan for all the questions today. So in the workplace, because this was one of the questions that MSA students also asked, how can we represent Islam in the workplace? Do it the way Yusuf alayhi salam did. Like he was in the prison and people see dreams which they are not sure what it means, and they see this person as this guy knows what is the meaning of things. Like, because a dream is a symbolic thing and you're trying to figure out what that means, right? The way he acts, the way he talks, he must have given them this security impression that let's go and ask this person. He's going to tell us the truth behind that dream. And how does he take it? He says, I will tell you the interpretation of your dream before they bring your food. But then starts talking about Tawheed. Like he switched the topic. He uses this opportunity of somebody coming and asking him about dreams, starts talking about the message that, like the oneness of the Creator message. He just turns the topic to this, delivers his message, and at the end, by the way, this is the interpretation of your dream, and this is the interpretation of your dream. What does that mean? In the workplace, somebody is coming and asking you, or for the doctor, actually, it was a beautiful example about a doctor. Nowadays, what the doctors are doing, you go to doctor and say that, oh, I have a pain here or there. Doctor looks at you and says, use this and that, right? Sometimes scares you, saying that, oh, you have a slim chance of living, or sometimes says, oh, it's okay. But it's all about how to fix the machine, as if you took your car to the mechanic and then says, oh, it's easy, just pay $500, we will order a new one, put it there, and you're good to go. Yusuf alayhi salam doesn't do that. He uses this occasion to start a conversation. Are you sick? From the sickness, what does sickness tell you? Sickness is another dream that you are in. What do I mean by that? Is it's a symbol. It's put in your life to tell you something. But do you see the meaning of sickness? Why are you sick today? Why did your creator give you sickness rather than health? The doctor is responsible with interpreting this to the patient. That's what Yusuf alayhi salam did for the two prisoner friends. He interpreted them what they didn't see the meaning behind. Doctor's responsibility is to see it and also explain it to the patient. Teacher's responsibility is to see the meaning, whatever, if I'm teaching computer science. However, I can tie this computer science, what do I see there in terms of my creator? And in the class, as I'm giving an example or an explanation, tie it to there so that the student sees how that this is interpreted. What is the truth behind it? This is a prophetic attitude. This is success. This is how Yusuf alayhi salam converts prison into a university. Like it becomes an education environment. Then, fast forward, now the king sees a dream, and then he gets to know that Yusuf alayhi salam can interpret the dreams and comes, and he says, this is the interpretation of your dream. But at the end, what does he say? Says, bring me to the position of ruling or controlling the economy. Yusuf alayhi salam is asking.
Before going there, this time it's going too fast. So up until this point, then we also learning from the prophetic story that the workplace ethics as well, and the relationship, how to communicate with others, how to interact with others. Going back to the very beginning, how we started, we said, okay, I have this potential. I can be really successful, right? I can be a really good doctor. I can be a good, the researcher. I can be a good, the engineer. I can produce really good engines. And I want to be successful in this life. And as if the religion is restricting me and so on. So now tying back to the Yusuf alayhi salam story, and the question is, yes, you have this potential, but is it that you're chasing after this worldly success? So worldly success is, pulling you front, or you see this potential, but then say, okay, this is not for this, what you are suggesting. I am given this potential not to earn money or not to become a famous professor or doctor or engineer. And what is the value of it, you say? So this worldly system will chase you after. Okay? You will run away from it. You're not ignoring or denying your potential. You're just saying that this potential is not for this. As Yusuf alayhi salam said, I'm not created with this beauty. I'm not created with this intelligence, whatever, just to please your sexual desires or get some pleasure myself out of it. This is not the point, he says, he sees. And he's run away. The system tries to pull him back. That's what will happen to you as well, right? You have this potential and you will try to find what this potential is for. I want to use it in the right way. But the people will tell you, oh, no, don't be, a philosopher. Don't philosophize things. Just do this, do that, earn that much money, invested in these funds, it will become more, then you will start your startup, right? Choose this path. You will say no. And as an alternative, you will say this potential is given to me to understand the true wisdom, true justice, right? And then when you interact with people, you will use this potential of yours for this purpose. First, you will see it, you will see the wisdom, and every time they ask you something about your work, for instance, you will use it as an excuse to talk about the wisdom in the creation. Right? You will apply for let's say, funding. If you will send a proposal, it will accept it. People will come and congratulate you, and you will say, I didn't do anything. The success is given to me right now, and all I want to do is appreciate. I suggest you to do the same thing, to appreciate what is given to you. Your proposal will not be accepted. People will share their condolences, and you will say, I just tried, I asked for it, and it was not accepted this time. That's okay. It's not my, in my power. It's not in my power anyway. Right? You will share this wisdom with others. That will make you different. Believe me, people will sense this difference in you. Just in the Yusuf alayhi salam's case, his prison mates would say, we see you in a different way, Muhsinun, right? We are doing it in a terrible ways, our jobs. We just try to earn more money, become more famous. You're doing it for something else. You are crazy, man. But there's something that in you we see, we respect, and we cannot, help ourselves. Even the ones who are against your, the ideas. Because you are standing on the truth. As you share more, you will become more valuable within this society even. Of course, they will try to, get rid of you, etc. This is what we see in stories of the prophets as well, right? There's always this clash. They want to get rid of it. But you don't try to get rid of someone who is not worth anything, who is worthless. You try to get rid of someone who is important. So everybody has to accept the importance of what you are doing. So this is also, how we should interact with people. Just escape from what they're calling for. Let them grab you from behind. Try to at least grab you behind. Go away. You say, I use my potential for something higher. You play with your startups. I will see how my creator changes the world. Resurrect this injustice, the unjust world into a just one. I will be part of it, you will say. I'm aiming for bigger. And then when they ask, you will explain.
So when Yusuf alayhi salam then is going to be taken out of the prison. So I have one question in here. When Yusuf alayhi salam says, now he is saying that I am a knowledgeable person, give me the economy of the country. What do we expect from that? Like, is Yusuf alayhi salam's point is the welfare of the people? Is this the reason behind that? Or if a prophet says this, what might be the motivation of the prophet to say that? Word might be the same, but when a prophet says it versus Elon Musk says it, must be different, because Elon Musk also asked, right? Give me the Doge, like Department of Government Efficiency. Was the point, of course, we don't know his heart, but we can guess. Was it welfare of people, what would you expect from Elon Musk? Now the same thing. What would you expect from a prophet to ask that question? In the light of our prophetic description of success so far. Was it for people to feed their bellies, period, in a just way? Or was it to observe and to demonstrate justice of the sustainer and provider? This is what we have been discussing so far, right? Isa alayhi salam, when he was demonstrating this resurrecting the dead as a miracle, what was the point? Was it to attract people's awe to himself? Or was it to show people, or was it just to make the parent happy of the deceased person? Or was it to demonstrate the provider, the sustainer to people? So in the case of Yusuf alayhi salam, then we should say, this was not simply a case of, I'm good at this, leave it to me and don't worry about it type of an attitude, but rather the motivation. Again, now we are marrying the idea of success with worship. It shouldn't be believer yet successful, like separate things. No, they are both one and the same. So in this regard, Yusuf alayhi salam's attitude in here must have been read in the sense of demonstrating the provider, the sustainer, the just provider and sustainer.
One example, like we know that the scholars, the good ones, not nowadays the famous ones, they spend a lot of time and effort for the idea of, let's say, Islamic finance. Right? Other day I just heard a few things about the Imam Ghazali's the view about the finance. You see the motivation there, as you beautifully said, is not to distribute the wealth equally so that people will prosper and they will feed their bellies, etc. It's more fundamental. It's like the finance. It's a belief system. Right? How finance works, it's a belief system. You say the worth of this product is that much, and people believe in you and pay that much. So when the trust in this system is severed, entire system collapses. When people do not trust in the prices, for instance, or the manufacturers, or the manufacturers stop believing in the consumers, entire system has to like a collapse, because the finance is nothing but a belief system. Okay, so the point then in Islamic finance, my understanding, is to prevent people to demonstrate any kind of injustice or unfaithfulness. Yes, unfaithfulness, because these may cause people, as sister were saying, when I look at the creation, I see nothing but injustice, right? Disrespect to each other, whatever. If your system works based on distrust, what people will observe is distrust in creation, because the finance is the big part of our lives, right? So you have such a responsibility. Your system must be trustful, respectful, and people, when see it, they will say, okay, I see justice there. If you create a system in which injustice prevails, then the people will look at it and say that I look at the creation and I see nothing but injustice. You open the path for unbelief for people with your finance system. Okay? So again, with the Yusuf alayhi salam's example, when he tried, like when he says, I will be the head of this ministry, the point is not that I have this potential and I want to actuate it. I want to be the living this experience. Or even the point is not that, I will be the best ruler and the people will respect me and people will flourish. But the point is, I have the responsibility, right, to see the trust in the creation and reflect it in the system. And the Creator gave me the knowledge to do that. So I need to do this. See the trust in the creation and show it to the others, so that the belief will prevail. When people will look around, imagine yourself living in such an environment that you can trust all the transactions, which is the opposite of what we are right now. You buy a seat in an airline, you know that the person sitting next to you could be, paying much more or much less than you for the seats that are next to each other. It's just a speculation. How much trust you can, have in the system. That's a huge reason. I know it sounds, maybe irrelevant, but it's a huge reason that the unbelief is prevailing. Because when people look around, they see what? Distrust. They see injustice. Hence, the Yusuf alayhi salam were saying that, oh, I cannot let this happen.
Then another interesting part of the story. So Yusuf alayhi salam says before leaving the prison, he wants to be cleansed because he was put into prison by somebody telling a lie about him. He says, go and ask those women, why did they cut their hands? After this happens, and then the women say Yusuf didn't do anything wrong, they confess their wrongdoing. Yusuf alayhi salam says an important word there. I do not cleanse myself because myself commands all the bad things except my Lord's mercy. This is a very interesting thing. He's not trying to, just like Isa alayhi salam was not trying to receive people's awe because of showing a miracle. He's not trying to clean his own name, although he was blamed with a certain slander. He's saying, if it was me, I would do all the bad things. If you leave me to myself, I would do bad things. Actually, it's my Creator's mercy that's the protector. This is what I'm trying to clean from. But this is, again, totally different worldview. Somebody is telling you that you did something wrong, and you're not trying to clean your name on their perspective. You're saying that my Creator is the pure and clean one. He protects me. So I'm trying to clean his name before your eyes, not myself. Again, it's a totally different level of success. And this is a success. Still, he is now he's climbing the ladders to success with our worldly understanding, but he already wins so many victories so far. Like him teaching the prisoners was a success story. Or him not being fall for what he was invited to by the woman was a success story, although it led him into prison. And now at this point, it's another success because he is, again, teaching people about their Creator rather than simply cleaning his own honor. This was not the point. So fast forward, I'm going to skip one part of the story, that what was happening with his brothers and whatnot. But let's come to the end of it. Yusuf alayhi salam now becomes the king, the Aziz, so the Ministry of Economy, let's say. He gets connected to his family as well. He reconciled with his brothers who once have been enemies to him. Now they're friends. Parents, like father, comes and they're meeting. How does the story end? And they lived happily ever after. It does not. It ends by Yusuf alayhi salam making another dua, now saying, Tawaffani Musliman wa alhiqni bis salihin. Like, take my life or give me death as a believer, as a submitter. Like, he's at the pinnacle of success. Just enjoy your success, man. He's not doing that. He doesn't consider that as the success. Just tawaffani Musliman, like, take my life as a Muslim, as a person in the state of submission. Walhiqni bis salihin, and take me upon or include me upon the salihin, the righteous one. Again, showing us where the real success is. Moral of the story that I take, and I would like to wrap this up on my end. Yes, we do have this innate desire for doing something good. Let it be making a frame of this picture over there. I do some framing. So there's an art that goes into making frames, like picture frames, or whatever is your art. Coding is your art. Medicine is your art. You would like to do it well and nice, or cooking is your art. You would like to put a little of this spice, that spice to get the perfect biryani. You have this desire in there, granted. But what is the actual success that we will call for in there? The worldly success, we talked about it so far. But now the prophetic success is something totally different. At the end, yes, you will again cook the best biryani. You will again taste it, and it will taste better than any other biryani out there. But you will say that the real success in this taste is not how awesome it is, like tickling my tongue, but how much I enjoy that my creator, I asked for a tasty biryani, and he gave this tasty biryani. I love him. For this is my actual success. So we are trying to marry, or at least this our prophets showed us, marrying this seeking meaning and purpose in the things themselves and making your everyday regular activities into worship. This would be the success, the prophetic way of living life with success. So in this regard, we should, or I should change the mindset of religion is this burden that I am carrying on my back. Unlike my non-Muslim friends, they can do whatever they do, but born into a Muslim family, or I chose Islam somehow, and there are those obstacles, like a set of rules dragging me down. If I were not Muslim, I would show you what it means to be successful. This mindset is wrong, and we are trying to go away from that, but rather it's a totally different way of living life. Meaning of life is changing, and this desire given to me is given. How do I satiate this desire? Like curiosity, maybe I should conclude with that. Yes, I am curious. Curiosity is given to me, but sometimes with this curiosity, how do I abuse curiosity? I enter one Wikipedia page, read 2 sentences, another thing, what is this? Jump to another one, click, 2 hours passes, I tickled my feeling of curiosity, and then what's at my hand? Nothing. I was just jumping from one thing to another, right? That was a silly way of abusing my curiosity. Another person is curious about tasting different food, so they travel from cities and whatnot just to taste different food. And other people are their sexual desires trying different things out of curiosity. Scientist is intellectually curious, jumping from that problem to another problem to another problem. Curiosity is satisfied. That feeling is tickled. The nature of satisfaction of curiosity is the same. The seriousness you would pay differs. Okay, you might be respecting the one who has scientific questions or curiosities versus the one who has sexual curiosities. You can say, haha, come on. But at the end, they are having the same nature of trying to satisfy transitoriness. The question is, does human get satisfied with this transitoriness? because all of them leaves a few seconds of satisfaction either in my tongue, in my skin, or in my intellect. But I am interested, I have infinite desires. I don't want to die. Give me an answer that satisfies this very core human being. This is why it becomes an abuse of curiosity, since the question at the end of previous session was, why is one curiosity better than the other? Because one of them is answering my innate human questions, who is my sustainer. The other one is just tickling yet another faculty of mine, which is intellect in this case. So it's not answering my human needs. With that,
Let's have some comments, questions. We have like 15 minutes, which is great time to hear your questions. Yes. Who has the microphone? The other microphone. Yeah. Make sure it's on.
I don't know. Again, it's between comment and question. When you talked about, I guess you talked about like when Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, like he became like the whatever, like political position that he had, and he wanted, you know, to people to live, to spread kind of like social justice, let's say, in his community. And you said it's not just because for people to fill their stomachs and live, but this is a way for him. It was like his da'wah, you know, like for him to introduce people to what justice mean. And then they will ask where this justice comes from. You know, he was the Khalifa, as we talked about. So, right, he's representing his creator. But then it's interesting. But then, like, I feel like in science, right, like people have been studying this for like hundreds of years, where they look at things and they see how intricate, how complicated, how reproducible, how like things are so small and so connected. But it did the opposite. I feel like the more they studied, the more they, you know, did not come to this conclusion where like, oh, there must be, you know, someone who designed this. Like it can't be this thing, this cell knows where to go and this root knows where to go in the soil. Like they reached the opposite. They reached like it had a completely opposite result, which is people, I don't know, concluding that somehow it happened by itself, you know, like, but I mean, I understand now a scientist can use that as a dawah for, of course, for myself, maybe at first, and then maybe for others. But like, yeah, like if you think about it now, like when you look at scientists, or not only science, and it's so many fields, you know, where like even like software engineering, whatever, like it's kind of like, you see the opposite results, basically. And you see people who know less are more religious, you know, or the people who don't bother much to ask, or they are more like satisfied, more secure with their iman. Yeah, I don't know what the question is, but this is my observation.
I like it. Maybe one, like we can start with your assumption that they conclude in the opposite direction. When you say something happening by itself, a cell, for instance, dividing by itself, this cannot be a conclusion, because for something to be conclusion, you have to have some premises, and all these premises should lead to this conclusion. This is what we call a conclusion, right? So when you say a cell divides by itself, what you mean is that whatever knowledge and power and will is necessary for this division, I will find it inside the cell. This is what it means. If you want to call it as a conclusion, you have to put it in such a way. Whatever knowledge, power, and will is necessary for this division, I found it in the cell. If you say that, your premise is that much knowledge is required, I found it in the cell, hence cell divides itself. This becomes a conclusion. You will not and you cannot see any such statement. Nobody can show you that is infinite amount of knowledge that is required for cell division found somewhere in the cell. They cannot show you. I mean, the claim is we can show everything study in the laboratory, right? Ask the question of, could you please show me this infinite knowledge stored in the cell, please? And the cell has the power to utilize it, because the knowledge by itself is nothing. I can give you a hard drive, a 50 terabytes full of knowledge, and you just hold the hard drive. What happens? Nothing. You need a power to process and make it something, right? Show this thing in the cell as well, please, right? The power. They manage this infinite amount of knowledge. It is not a conclusion. It is an assumption. You don't conclude that things that happens by itself, themselves. You say, and you can see, like if you read their writings, like the forefathers, you will see it clearly. As a naturalist, we cannot accept. So let me give you one example I keep giving. It's a real article cited a 50,000 times in the brain, the connectivity. Guy studies the economy of the connections, and then tells that it requires such and such optimization. And even if we assume the entirety of the species on the earth, every single living being was used to optimize these connections. Because how evolution works, like the currency is the living unit, right? You need more and more living things to optimize things. Like in computers, we have flops. In CPU, like you make computations. In evolution, you create one more species, the living thing, and then another thing, another thing. This is your flops. Even if you consider the entirety of every, the organism just used for optimizing this, it won't be enough, he says. But as a naturalist, because we cannot assume that the knowledge is somewhere else, we have to accept such and such pathways, he says very clearly. Okay? And I was applauding him. Like for the first time, somebody is telling it so clearly in a scientific writing. When you read, the philosophical writings and so on, you will find it more. Nobody can claim that this is the conclusion. Because for it to be conclusion, they have to show you that something comes to the existence out of nothing by itself. Show me in the laboratory, please. No. It is an assumption, starting point, the bias or dogma. What makes it different than the belief in the Quranic sense? Quran says, go and look at the creation, and you will come up with the premises. Okay, everything is so connected to each other. To change the place, even the location, forget about creating or anything. Just to change the location of one thing. One electron, we said, right, in our example from keyboard to screen. To change its position, you have to change the entire universe. Okay? And as you study more, you will see the reality of this. Any physicist will confirm that. Okay? This is your premise. Then you need to control everything at once just to move one electron. Another premise. Then you have to share, you see that nothing in this universe can have such control over everything else. You don't have such existence. You cannot have such existence because anything that exists requires to be controlled by something else, by definition. Put these premises together, your conclusion, a true conclusion, will be there must be something, I don't know what. There must be something that controls everything in this universe, which is not this, like out of the kind of this universe. I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but it must be there. This is a true conclusion. The difference between the two, dogma and conclusion. All these people are studying and, coming to this conclusion or, this dogma and whatever. It is as that simple. Like, let's not complicate things. Like, personally, I met many successful scientists or philosophers saying this very clearly. The lady was saying, studying the intelligence, the robotics, and so on. She was explaining. And then a question comes, and she starts like, I'm not, joking. As a naturalist, we have to, she says. As a naturalist, we have to. This is not a conclusion. Whatever comes after, we have to. It's a dogma. If you say, for instance, something like, as a Muslim, I have to believe God has wisdom, infinite wisdom. Something bad happened to me. I don't know what it is, but I'm a Muslim, so I have to believe that the God has, the wisdom. So this must be wise. This is dogma. Same thing. As a Muslim, I have to believe in this. This is a dogma. Just like as a naturalist, I have to. This is a dogma. The conclusion, the right thing, what it is, I look at my entire life. All the moments were created wisely. Whatever I experience wisdom. Something bad happens, I have no other reason to assume and expect wisdom out of it. Not because you are a Muslim, because you lived your life, experienced it, experimented it, collected all these, the evidences, and you come up with the conclusion.
Submitted to that conclusion.
And then you submitted to the conclusion, Islam. So let's not conflate the two. Proper belief is a conclusion, must be a conclusion. If not, you are living a dogma. Accept it. On the other hand, all this scientific mumbo jumbo, it's not a conclusion. It's a dogmatic assumption.
Jazakallah khairan. Any concluding remarks? We have 2 minutes. No? Okay. So, Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha.